A lot of Knicks here. Let's go ahead and start there. We'll get the 3 picks on the Knicks in this spot. Knicks starting to look like themselves again. Got a big win versus the Kings the other night. Jalen Brunson was absolutely fantastic. Unsurprisingly, Tibbs is doing real well with this situation, with there not being fouls called. That Kings game, I had a friend of Jared Dubin, who's done a lot of work at a number of places, runs a really great Substack, was like, it was in one of the Slacks I'm in, being like, I just think this is maybe going a little bit too far. Like, you can't not be calling obvious fouls. To which I responded, yes, you can. And then I responded with, if they die, they die. So like, I'm loving this. They could let him foul. I prefer this. Call me demented. I prefer this. But Joe's always chomping at the bit to give me the Knicks cap. You give me the Knicks cap now. Why do you like the New York Knicks here on Monday night?
I do indeed. Yeah, they found their groove. As you point out, they kind of got their groove back here. Obviously, the main storyline it fits. It probably overfits to a degree at this point, but it certainly fits. OG Anunoby's back. What do? They win 3 straight by notable margins of victory. He's a plus from the plus minus perspective. He's a plus in all 3 games. He's now all 17 games as a Knick. He's a plus. It isn't that easy. It isn't that obvious. But he is a huge factor, and he'll be a great weapon to have against a Warriors team that's, the top end scoring talent is what you want to be locked in on. So I really like the matchup for them. But I also this to me is kind of a crazy number, and it opened at Knicks +4, and it's already up to 4.5. So I'm a little bit interested to see which way this number goes. I personally have this around to pick them, so I have a lot of wiggle room. The Knicks, to circle back to OG Anunoby really quick, they were 8-10 when he was out, instantly 3-0 with him. Those wins, Philly by 27, Portland by 12, Sacramento by 7. That was a tighter game than it appeared. But to kind of talk about your underlook as well, I mean, the defensive rating since he returned, 95.1. We're talking very small sample here, of course, but it passes the eye test of them just being made for this sort of a gladiatorial ring of an NBA that we're seeing right now. And having OG and his physical presence there is just perfect. On the flip side of it, the Warriors, they got a big win over the weekend, but the last 2 weeks, if we extend the window a little bit, they're 28th in spread differential. This is also one of those fake home games. The Warriors just got done a 3-game road trip. It was on the West Coast at least, so it's not like they had to travel back. Rest differentials even for the game, but I tend to underbake the home court a tiny bit if it's one of those, we're on a road trip coming back for the first game home. So there's plenty of room for me on this one. I'm going to take the spread. I'm going to sprinkle the money line. That's what I did for Knicks Kings. That worked out pretty well. They're a little bit further into their road trip now. They've maybe had a rest day in the Bay Area, but I think overall this Knicks team is a really good fit for the league as a whole, as they're calling things right now, and a good matchup for this Warriors game. So I'm going to be playing them spread and money line on Monday.
All right, Joe, why do you like the Knicks in this spot?
Yeah, I mean, the Warriors are also just not very good against the spread at home. They're 10-17 on the season against the spread as a home favorite. So it's just kind of that whole thing like, oh, you're buying in to Golden State. You're paying that little bit of a premium, even against the Knicks. I think the other thing is, too, when we look at this post-All-Star break, a lot of our conversations, even on this podcast, we've talked about how like the Warriors are improving. They're looking better, et cetera, et cetera. They're 8-5. They have a net rating of plus 1.8 since the All-Star break. New York Knicks 7-5 plus 2.8. And that's with all the injuries that they've been dealing with, missing Jalen Brunson multiple games, OG Anunoby, obviously Julius Randle as well. You get OG Anunoby back, and it's literally just an absolute monster physicality like ad for them to have. I mean, I was watching the game at this time, it'll be 2 nights ago when they played the Kings, and there was a point where like Isaiah Hartenstein literally like just tackled Domantas Sabonis, and it's just like, and that was loud. It happened. It was fine. But when you're the New York Knicks and like if you can get a little bit more wiggle room to play physically, oh man, like that is a huge advantage if you're the Knicks, just based on the style of play that they want to go for. So I really do think that this is a big test, like physically, for Golden State. And the other thing is, honestly, the Knicks, I think, match up pretty well personnel-wise with the Warriors. The Warriors have been generally wanting to play a little bit smaller. Hartenstein, not like the most nimble big, but he's still capable of playing that 5, even like against some stretch guys, especially because Draymond Green is not really going to shoot a lot of threes. Like he always seems to get them up on national TV, but he's not like somebody that's stretching the floor at the 5. So I do think the Knicks have a lot of different options that they can throw at the Warriors. And when you have a guy like Jalen Brunson, I don't know who's really stopping him. So I do think this is a great opportunity for New York. And I like the 4.5. I just think the number is, I just can't wrap my head around the number right now. I think that this, like Jim said, it should probably be closer to a pick 'em based on not only recency, but with OG Anunoby back, but especially full season numbers.
The Saturday night game I thought was really indicative of who the Warriors are. And it's like, well, Matt, they won. Well, yes, they won versus the 10 seed in which Anthony Davis got hurt. Like, they are 7-20 straight up with a -3 spread differential when they face top 10 point differential teams this season. Like, a big reason why the Warriors are having to fight for a play-in spot is because their schedule has been absolutely brutal and they've had to play all of these really great teams. Funny story, though, they also haven't beaten any of them. They haven't beaten anybody. Like, they don't. This is what's been driving me crazy about this narrative discussion of like the red hot Warriors. I'm like, look at the schedule. Like, you're going to need to find me I try and contain this because I can go too far where I'm like, no, you got to beat the bad teams or you're inconsistent. Oh no, you got to beat the good teams or you're not serious. So then I'm basically like, you have to beat everyone. Otherwise I don't take you seriously unless you're the Boston Celtics, in which case I still don't take you seriously because your clutch time offense isn't good enough. So like, yeah, there's like a bar where this gets too high. But the what I'm actually kind of looking for, if you're really, win profile is very big to me. And win profile essentially, for when you face the elite teams, you want to go like slightly under 500. You're not going to win most of them because those are very good teams and those are hard. Like, those are often coin flips. If you do win a lot of those games, you're one of the elite squads. Like, you are Boston. You are one of these other squads that's really good versus those teams. But the Warriors are not just like not good. They are bad versus the good teams. And the Knicks profile, I love these spots because like the Knicks with OG profile is like a very, very good team. I still would very much just like any word on Mitchell Robinson. If he's not going to play, I would like just like hey, it's not going to happen this year. Like, it's not going to happen this year. Like, have I missed anything, Joe? Have I missed anything in the Knicks? Like, it's Knicks, so they're never going to say anything.
Yeah, the most recent report was on Thursday, and they said that he began running and jumping, which for Mitchell Robinson, like realistically, like his skill set, that is what he does. Like, he runs and he jumps. He's not a scorer. So like, this is a good thing, but it's still just like, I don't know what that means because it's like Randall they talked about in the same conversation and they said controlled contact situations. So to me, that's different than what like Robinson is doing.
It's been very funny that like everyone's like, when's Julius Randle? But if they can get Julius Randle back, and meanwhile I'm like, forget Julius Randle. I need Mitchell Robinson. Like, if you told me right now that Julius Randle was not going to come back and Mitchell Robinson was back tomorrow, I would be like, let me bet some Knicks futures now. I'm ready. I'm in. All that's to say, I like this. I will tail the two of you. I'm sorry in advance, but I'm going to go ahead and tail you on the Knicks -4. I'm also going to take the under 213 here. So one of the many things that I looked at, and there's a little bit of overfitting and confirmation bias here, where one of the things that I'm trying very hard to do is you can take pretty much any split of teams since the All-Star break and be like, teams that have an A in their name, but not an L. And you can, look, it's 70% to the under. That's amazing because everybody is basically 70% to the under except like the Wolves and the Hawks. However, one of the things I really have tried to do is I've tried to get above the 75% mark. That's what I'm really kind of aiming for because we are seeing totals dip so low that the over is ticking back up and like, okay, unders are only hitting at like 65% versus for a while there when it was, 80 and then 70. But one thing I did kind of look at was I looked at top 15 defenses with a bottom 10 free throw rate allowed. So like, what is this? How does this project out? What's the logic here? If you are already not fouling, you're already a disciplined defense and you get more leeway. I was curious about those teams, and those have gone 55-21 to the under since February 9th, which by the way is when I've noticed that total started crashing, was that day specifically, February 9th. And those are hitting at 72.4%, which is well above the 65% mark that the overall totals are at since that date. on the under. So, now, this total is low, right? The Knicks in particular have been a wagon on the unders. Like they've been even better than the rest of them. The only games that they've gone over in that time span are the Atlanta Hawks. It's the Hawks.
Yeah, fair.
And the Orlando Magic with a total of 210, which this is 213, that's 210. This may be too low. Like I am just telling you straight up right now, listener, that I am actively at this point going like, you're going to have to prove it to me with some of these foul rate teams. Like you're going to have to go over and teach me a lesson, because I'm just going to keep betting them no matter what the number is. And I'm going to see what the threshold is where it's like, okay, maybe that's too low. 213 is not low enough for me. I think that the Knicks will wind up containing things, because here's a massive one for you. This is via my friend Seth Partnow, who does work for The Athletic, amongst other places, including Dunked On. The number one player in free throw drop since they started changing the rules is Steph Curry.
That's surprising.
Interesting.
Free throws drawn. And if you want to know a big reason why, they are allowing, everyone's focused on ball contact. They are allowing you to grab way more off ball, which means, guess what? All of the stuff that frees Steph up, all of that movement, if you're able to grab and pull and yank on him, that slows him down.
That's
now,
interesting.
I don't want to bet the under on Steph because I'm not an idiot, but I do think that that's enough to get me in place for an under here, where I will go ahead and take this specific matchup here and take the under as well. Let's get into some of these sicko props that the two of you have. First, Dante DiVincenzo, rebounds and assists. Jim Turvey, explain yourself, sir.
Yeah, it's that time of the year where we really we go spelunking into some of the darkest and deepest caves that NBA props have to offer. But here's the look. Basically, since OG has returned, it makes sense. If you think of it logically, he is the type of player who will lose both usage and minutes and stats, and that is exactly what's happened. If we look back to the first time OG was on the Knicks and we use that sample set, he's gone under this number in 12 of the 17 games that he and OG have both been in the starting lineup for the Knicks. To me, it's a little bit juiced to the under. We are in the land of, again, this is, I'm looking for anything right now. I'm probably going to do a quarter unit as compared to sometimes where you do the half unit, but I do think there's a lot to like here. Of the 3 games since OG returned, he's much lower on those. Warriors are pretty much average in terms, they don't allow a ton of rebounds, a ton of assists. His points scare me a little bit more because he is still getting up an insane amount of threes. And with points, rebounds, and assists, the points are always the most weighted because they're the most prevalent of the 3. So if he has the ability to go high with that, I want to just cut that out entirely. I don't hate an under on a PRA. The first game OG came back, played his points under and that hit. But overall, I like the rebounds and assist portion of this more. He's losing out on those. If you look at his potential rebounds, potential assists as well, his minutes have also dropped a little bit. So, again, it's not the prettiest pick I'll ever give out here, but sometimes the ugliest picks, money is money. So Dante DiVincenzo under 7.5 rebounds plus assists.